Hi, this is Kim MacLeod from Indie Authors World, and I am here to have a lovely interview with one of our fabulous authors, Jennifer Gunn. And Jennifer has published her first book, which is called Dog with Not One F to Give. Here it is here. And it's how to manage your Fs for a stress-free life. So say hi, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone.
So we are going to have a little discussion about stress, because really this book is all about managing stress, because your F's are really, I suppose, it's what can protect you, and how you manage that whole lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So maybe just to start off, a lot of people probably watching this may well be experiencing stress in their jobs and in their life. We've had quite a lot of interesting jobs in the past. Some of them would be what you would call a high stress factor in terms of the roles that you've done. So can you explain a wee bit about your background and some of the jobs that have perhaps been particularly stressful?
All right. Well, I think I don't know. I guess the most stressful one started probably after getting my first graduate degree. I started doing counseling, and I worked with violent offenders while they were incarcerated and once they were released, and I worked with juveniles and adults. So sometimes that got a little interesting. And then I went on from there to Savannah, Georgia, and I worked for about 9.5, almost 10 years in law enforcement. I rode patrol for almost 7 years, and then I spent the rest of the time doing counter-narcotics work. So I got to do a little undercover work. So I'll say I was probably the worst counter-narcotics agent in the history of counter-narcotics agents anyway. But it was an experience. It was something interesting, and it was very stressful. Both, I think just about every aspect of law enforcement is particularly stressful. It's not a job that you get to leave the office and leave it at home. It stays with you 24/7, even when you try to not be doing it. And then after I had gone back to school, and I finished my second graduate degree in cultural anthropology, and I was fortunate enough to get hired on by the Department of Defense's Human Terrain System. So I went to Afghanistan, and I was embedded with a team of our Green Berets there for 8 months. And being in a war zone with those, well, if you're going to be in a war zone, I can't think of better guys to be with. They're definitely the best people to be with. But, their job is just incredibly stressful. I mean, anyone who's the military has, even when you're not in a combat situation or a wartime, it has its own stressors because of the potential, what you could be asked to do. Same for law enforcement. I am a veteran as well. I went into the Army right after high school, but I didn't serve in any combat capacity while I was active duty. I didn't do that until I went with Department of Defense over to Afghanistan. So yeah, those have been probably the most stressful jobs. But still, even those, every job has stress. Everyone has stress. No, I can't think of any job or any person that I know or have ever met that didn't at some point have some kind of stress in their life. Yeah.
It's a modern day kind of epidemic almost, though, isn't it, Jennifer? Because we're on the go 24/7 now. There's so much we're bombarded with information. We've got social media, kind of coming out our ears. We're always, there's nowhere you can go really. That you can't get that far that you've not got somebody who's either got an access to a phone to get a hold of you, or you're on call almost. People won't switch off the same, I think, as years ago we didn't have all this technology and stuff. But technology can be brilliant because it allows us even to have this conversation. I mean, you're in America and I'm in Scotland, and we can have this conversation. That just, I think, sometimes adds to the pressures that we can have in our lives.
I definitely think it does. Also, like you said, the technology, it's so awesome and amazing and wonderful, but at the same time, it just it can be really stressful just trying to manage it. And like the information, I am definitely all about learning as much as you can all of the time. And with the internet and how easy travel is now, we're just exposed to so much information and so many um, well, bad thing, negative things and positive things as well. And that's the thing about, managing your F's, which are essentially an F is something you care about. It's something in your life that you care about one way or the other somehow. And so we have to, because we can get overwhelmed with things that we care about, both negative things and positive things, we have to manage those somehow. Um, there's so many charities, there's so many good causes, there's so many things that you want to give to, but even we only have so much of ourselves that we can give. And so even if it's wanting to give into some positive things, we still have to manage those too, because we do only have a limited number of things that we can care about. We have a limited number of F's to give out to the world, either positive or negative. Yeah.
And that's really where the book and the idea for this book really kind of came. I know if if everybody wants to go and check it, there's another video that we recorded which tells me about the story about how the dog came to be and the book came into fruition. Just that whole notion that we have to really kind of be careful of our own energy and the amount that we can give out, because if we don't, then we can so easily be overwhelmed.
Right.
And if we get overwhelmed, particularly by stress overwhelms us, then we can really be stuck. And it can lead us down a road of some mental ill health that just is not somewhere we want to go.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And the book is definitely no substitute for any type of counseling and therapy at all, but it does give a little tool in a way that's kind of humorous and fun, especially with the illustrations that Helen Cochran did, which are so funny. Oh my goodness. I can't draw or illustrate anything. And so it was like Helen was in my head, because the illustrations were perfect, and they are so funny in themselves. I don't particularly think I am very funny at all. The story is funny, but I don't really think I'm that funny. But I like how the book turned out, and it made taking a topic that is really serious or could potentially be really serious, and it just makes it really simple and kind of fun to learn a new way to manage stress, manage manage how you spread your F's about.
Yeah, and I think that is the beauty of this book. I think, Jennifer, you've really come up with an idea that is simple in its application, and the use of humour in there as well, because like you say, you can actually just think about, you've got a limited number of F's that you can hold on to and use in that particular day, and deciding whether something is worth giving up one of those very precious F's that you have. Is it worth giving up for this? I think it's something that, I know that it was close to your heart. Your colleagues who've worked particularly in the military and in law enforcement, where it's maybe that wouldn't necessarily pick up a book that's going to teach them lots of ways to manage stress, but they may well pick up this because it's it is funny, and it is written in sort of everyday language. Is that really where you were coming from, Jennifer?
It really is. I feel like, and I'm going to try, I was just saying I'm not going to cry this time, darn it. But when I just even start thinking about these people, and I just have to say, and that I have been so incredibly blessed by getting to meet and work with some of the most amazing people in the world. The guys and the girls in law enforcement, my partners for counter narcotics, the team there, and the guys and girls I rode, females I rode patrol with. Every day we go out there, and you're just with these people that would die for you, and that is so incredible. And I just feel really blessed that I got to meet people that would be willing to do that. And then to be in Afghanistan with the the Army, and particularly with the Green Berets. I mean, these are people that are gone from their homes. They voluntarily go away from their homes, they're away from their families, and they put themselves in danger to, you know, protect our way of life, really, and protect other people who maybe can't protect themselves, who aren't in a position where they can protect themselves. And it's just amazing to me, and sometimes a bit overwhelming, that there are so many human beings out there that are willing to do that for somebody else. And I really wanted to find a way to give something back to these people. And this is kind of, you know, maybe we can all do one thing. You know, maybe this is just my one thing that I can do for them. So I did want to write it in a way that something that was quick, because not everyone has time to read a novel, or as much as we love them. So I made it small, you know, short on purpose. I used language that people in law enforcement and the military don't use in front of civilians a lot of the time, but I did write it with them in mind, so it is kind of a little rough around the edges, just a warning. And then to use the humor, you know, in both of those occupations, you kind of have to have a kind of a peculiar sense of humor as kind of a coping mechanism, really. And so I kept that in mind with them, and the illustrations as well. When I talked to Helen about that, we looked at a couple of them, and I said, you know, we can get a little rough with these, because the audience I had in mind, you know, would appreciate something like that. And also, both I think the military and law enforcement in particular, my experience with them is they're not occupations that you can freely talk about your emotions and what you're going through. I mean, you can, like, to some extent, but not really. You can't. I mean, if you bring up, you know, oh, I'm feeling stressed, you know, sometimes it's not like the warm embrace that you would get, just because of the nature of the jobs. Aren't conducive to showing a lot of emotion. And so sometimes that can get carried over into home life and relationships and that sort of thing. So I really wanted to write it in a way that gave them the words that they can use in front of their friends and in the squad room and at a briefing. So maybe there's a way to talk about stress without losing or feeling like you're losing any sort of like strength. Like, you know, sometimes we don't talk about feelings because you don't want to look weak, because and honestly, neither of those jobs are conducive to weakness of any sort. So we want to be able to talk about that. And so I hope that the book gave them a way and some language and some words that they can use, and humor and way to talk about stress with the guys. Because, you know, if you can go into work and talk about, oh yeah, that last call I went on, or, you know, that last mission we went on, I want to take one of these Fs and, you know, do whatever with it. What a great way to be able to talk about stressful situations in a way that doesn't that you don't feel you're being perceived as being weak, you know. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give them a words and way to talk about something that is very predominant in both occupations, you know, both on duty and off duty. Because both of those jobs, there's high rates of suicide. You know, in both of those, with veterans, active duty, and in law enforcement, they're both high rates of suicide. So if I can maybe give one little thing, so that one person thinks, or has a tool that they can use to talk about something that's maybe bothering them, then see, I said I wasn't going to do it, and now I'm doing it anyway.
You know, I totally get that, Jennifer. I mean, I think that is, I think it's the strength of this book, and hopefully, you know, the more it gets out there, the more people start to pick it up and talk about it. I know what we've said, you know, about just being able to have some language that they can say, you know, so like, how many Fs have you got left today, folks? You know, I mean, what is, And we would be saying the word had we not recorded a video, because we don't know who watches the videos, which is why we're not saying it. But we say it every day ourselves. It's something that's part of our everyday language, really, you know, for most of us. If this book can give you know, so give someone an opportunity, like you say, to open up and talk a wee bit about how they're feeling, just even by using this language, that may well be the thing that really helps just to open that door for them to just to admit that something's not quite right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so hopefully maybe this will get out there, I hope. And so maybe it will help one person. And you know, this is just like the one thing I can give back. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you've done, you know, from your experience, you've been there. You're writing this from a position of kind of credibility in terms of also your knowledge, you know, because like I say, your counselling background as well. You know, you've understood that this is just the beginning. You know, it's not. We're not. You know, we're nowhere are we saying that. You know, if you have this book and that's just all your problems are going to disappear.
Right.
It gives you a starting point, doesn't it? It gives you a starting point.
Yeah, it's one tool to put in your toolbox. Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose if we have someone watching here just now who is you know, feeling a little stressed and or a lot of stress, we give them one tip, maybe just that, you know, one tip that we could suggest about how they're going to think about their situation in a slightly different way that could just help them from tonight.
Yeah, and give them some of those pictures in there. Those are in there. There's so many of those that'll just make you laugh without even reading the book. Just look at the pictures, and they're hilarious.
Yep, so that's it. So decide what's worth giving an F about, and this book definitely is. So I really hope that you know, people will pick this up, you know, share it, tell your friends about it, you know, buy them a copy. You know, it could be the best present you give somebody. You know, they can stick it in their jacket pocket and carry it around with them you know, for always in time. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing, you know, your experience with it and, you know, what you hope to achieve. And I know that people, you're really keen to be able to come out and give some talks about this book. So if anybody's watching, how do they get in touch with you if they really want you to come and, you know, talk a wee bit more about this?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to go talk to any group of people and share anything, you know, anything about this book with them, anything I can do to help. But they can get a hold of me through my website. It's jenniferagunn.com. And then there's a contact form, so they can just fill that out, and I'll get back to them as soon as possible, and we can set up a date and work out all the details.
Great, thank you so much. Yep, so folks, go and check out the book. You know, there's a paperback edition, there's a hardback edition, and an ebook available in all good online booksellers. And yep, check out Jennifer's website too. So the dog with not one F to give. And hopefully you can be managing your own stress better too. So thank you so much, Jennifer. It's been a pleasure to talk to you about it, and you know, good luck with all that you're doing. I think it's amazing.
Thank you very much.